So, you spent all your money on a gun. Now you only have one box of ammo to go to the range with. If you want to get better, I'll show you how to do it with just 50 rounds. So stay tuned. All right. You have spent all of your money on a gun, or you didn't budget properly, or you just don't have that much money to spend on ammo. That's understandable. I've been there. I kind of am getting back there, you know, with all this, whatever. All right, so you want to go to the range, you want to get better at shooting. You only have 50 rounds of ammo. Other things you'll need to go to the range. A gun, that would help. Magazines, more than one preferably. I would like at least 3. If you only have 1, that will work, but reloads are going to be kind of difficult. Obvious. I like shot timers. That's another expense, but you can save up for that. You don't need it. Targets, obviously, you need something to shoot. You can also use 3x5 cards. Real simple. I like to have a stapler to hang stuff up with. If you're shooting an indoor range, they might have, you know, clips or whatever. I'm going to try to show you a good way. There will be one drill in here that you can't shoot inside because of the speed or whatever, depending on your range rules. So I'll try to keep that in mind for people that shoot inside or indoor ranges. But how do you get better at shooting with a low round count or just one box of ammo? Well, the first thing that we need to go over is you can get a whole lot better without even firing a round off to begin with. So we're going to be going over everything that you can't do in dry fire. I'm not going to go over everything as far as dry fire. That's a whole separate video, but dry firing will help you with draw, presentation, grip, sight picture, and trigger press. All right, real quick before we go over what I do for the first drill, 2 things I forgot to mention to bring to the range: tourniquet and other medical, and ear pro. Eye pro as well, but I've been kind of slacking with that, so I don't have any with me. But first thing I like to do for when I first get to the range and I have not shot at all yet is a cold start. This is the cold start I use. This is the Eleanor by Sage Dynamics, our Lord and Savior. It is a reduced C-zone and a dot as a headshot. For handgun, it's 3 yards from a holster, 1 round into the circle, no line breaks, 3 rounds into the small box, no line breaks, in 2.5 seconds. This is, we are not trying to push ourselves and start slinging lead everywhere just to get the 2.5 seconds. We are simply trying to shoot this as accurately as possible and then gauging our time and then going from there. I'm going to see how long it takes me to do it, check my hits, and record that. If you want to, you can take a picture, hold up the shot timer, or just remember. If you video yourself shooting, that is also a great tool. You can check timestamps and see if you don't have a shot timer. But you want to shoot this as accurately as possible. It's 4 rounds. And try to get it as accurately as possible. Have a good balance with speed and accuracy. Obviously, you can get all your hits if you go super fucking slow. But we're not trying to shoot slow. We're trying to shoot fast. But we're not trying to shoot too fast because you can outpace yourself. I can pull the trigger a lot faster than I can actually get hits. So just remember that. This is important to track your progress from range trip to range trip, so you can see if you're improving during live fire. So Here we go. All right, here is my target. And this stapler is the 3-yard mark, and that's where I'll be shooting from. All right, so my hits are not great. I slung too high because I didn't have good recoil control. First shot was okay. That was in a 279. Yes. So line break doesn't count. So I have a little bit to work on. I have to work on recoil control, and dry fire will fix my dot placement. So that's where we got to go. So I'm going to do this drill again at the end of the range trip to show you what it looks like when you're warmed up. All right, our next drill is going to be recoil control. This is like the most important thing you can do at the range, and this is the most bang for your buck you can get out of live fire. I'm going to be shooting at a 3x5 card. I'm going to be shooting it from 5 yards, and I'm going to be double tapping, just bang bang, as fast as I can get a sight picture. And that's the key word, sight picture. I want to focus on seeing my dot come back, or my sight by my irons lining back up. And as soon as I recognize that my irons or my dot are lined up on the target, then I will pull the trigger, because I want to get both rounds on target, and I want to realize how fast I'm doing that, and just basically feel the gun out is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to start slow and then work my way up and get faster. I'm not timing this. I'm just going to, you can do this. I mean, if your indoor range allows it, you can ask the guys at the counter or whatever if you can prove that you can actually shoot. So we're going to shoot double taps for about four times, 8 rounds. And I'm going to get faster and faster with each shot group. And I'm going to see how far I can push myself and see how fast I can get, or if I need to slow down and still get rounds on the 3x5 card from 5 yards. All right, so I'm going to start outside the holster, because dry fire will get you reps in pulling, coming from concealment and getting your first sight picture. So your first sight picture should not be something you're practicing unless you can. So if you're at an indoor range, you can't be, fucking doing all this crazy stuff. So to get your the most bang for your buck at an indoor range, you'll just start with your first sight picture and start just bang bang, if you can, if your range will allow you to, double tap and stuff. If you're at an outdoor range like me, this is a private range, I can practice that all day long because it's my range and it's private property. So here we go. We're going to start once. I'm going to start slow and then work my way up. No timer for this. Just... All right, they're both like right here. They're real close. All right. Hopefully this camera can hear me now. These are my hits. These are all 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I stacked one right here. So that'll be 8. So my last split was a 0.23. I can speed that up, but I wanted to make sure I got hits. So during recoil, I was watching my dot come back into the window, and then I would break my shot. I'm not just shooting just to shoot. So you have a visual reference of what your gun is doing So then you can diagnose, hey, can I go faster or do I need to slow down? All right, now we're going to work on re-establishing grip. So coming out of the holster, this is something you work on in dry fire. Coming out of the holster, you want to make sure you have a good high purchase on the gun. You're gripping it tight, finger on the frame. Establish a non-dominant hand for a full grip. Press out, bang. We all know the deal. For this drill, I will be shooting until empty. I will be shooting to slide lock and then reloading. What I'm focusing on is not, I mean, technically this can be a double header. Focus on your recoil control and breaking shots as they're actually where you want them to shoot. And then when you reload, you're going to focus on getting a good grip back. And you're going to shoot 2. So I have 4 in this mag. I'm going to shoot until slide lock because, you know, just going to have some fun. Shoot until slide lock, reload, and I'm focusing on, after my reload, getting a good grip again. So you should have, when you're just establishing a good grip, obviously you have the best grip in the world, make a super accurate shot. As soon as you reload, you want to have that same grip again because you want to get used to that. And then let 2 other rounds off because 1 round doesn't matter. You can hit 1 round super easy. So we're going to shoot 2 after the reload. And reloads, you can practice reestablishing grip during dry fire, but you want to come bring that to the range and see if your grip is good enough, because you can establish a grip in dry fire all day long and just go click, 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 click. But until you have recoil in the gun, you won't know if your grip is actually good or not. So first off, you want to have a good grip to begin with, just in general. And then you want to establish a better grip, not a better grip, but just as good of a grip after the reload when you're trying to speed things up. So here we go. Now you have an empty mag. This is where this drill goes far. I could have done some more recoil drills and double taps to get here, but I'm going to reinsert the empty mag back in the gun and store my mag that has ammo in it, and I will do it again. I'll do it from outside the holster now to show you. What I'm focusing on is after the reload, getting a good grip back. So there's many videos on how to establish a good grip, but what you want to work on is seeing if your grip is good enough to sustain fire or recoil, if it's good under pressure, basically. So I'm going to do that a couple times and then move on from there. All right, during that string, I did that like 4 or 5 times. So one of those times I did have an improper grip, or not as, how'd you say that? Not as desirable of a grip. Because after my first shot, after the reload, dot came up, came back down way further than I wanted it to, but I still saw the dot, so I broke the shot. But I mean, I made the hit on the 3x5 card, but I noticed, hey, slow down a little bit, or just grip harder with my non-dominant hand. So after that one, went great. And that's what we're looking for. You want to recognize what you're doing wrong or what you could be better at. Think about it before you just move on, like, thoughtlessly. And like, hey, what could I be doing better? I think I grip harder with my offhand. So that's what I did. Reset up the drill, reloaded, gripped a little bit harder, butter. So, all right, I'm about 20 yards from the 3x5 card. I am going to focus on trigger control and grip. Basically, I want to see if my grip holds up under distance, because you can get away with a lot being up close, but at distance you have to, like, you're gonna tell, you're gonna miss if it's not right. So what I'm gonna focus on is keeping the dot or my irons lined up. It's harder to shoot distance with irons, but I'm going to focus on my trigger press and getting the gun back on target. So at distance, a lot of people make the mistake of just taking one shot and just fucking forgetting about everything after that. Like, their brain goes blank. So you want to take a shot and then come back and prep the trigger. And when I say prep the trigger, I mean this slack right here. So you want to take the shot, trigger's going to break, gun's going to recoil, and you're going to let it come out and get back on the trigger as fast as you can. So that way you're set up for the next shot. So here we go. All right, let's go check our hits. So what I'm doing there is I'm focusing on my trigger reset, because you can't practice that during dry fire. So I'm pulling the trigger, gun is cycling during recoil, and comes back. You want to be taking your finger off the trigger, not like off the face of the trigger. You want the trigger to reset during recoil. So let me see if I can explain that to you. I don't want to hear the reset after the gun is cycled, because there's going to be a big boom because you're shooting a live round. You don't want to hear yourself reset the trigger, because that just means you're slowing yourself down. So, all right, we're going to try it again. And I'm focusing on letting the trigger reset and getting back on the wall of the trigger as the gun is cycling, so I can set up my next shot. And also, while I'm taking my shot, I'm focusing on trigger press and keeping the gun still and just gripping the gun tight. So here we go. All right, so that string of fire felt a lot better because I was focusing on getting the trigger reset and not driving the gun down before I'm pulling the trigger. So I'm just pulling the trigger and letting the gun do its thing. So one of the most important things about recoil is your brain knows that the gun's going to go off. And you don't want to let yourself trick you into not, maintaining control. So you want to work into live fire. And the reason we live fire is so you don't get anticipation. If you're shooting low on a target, let me show you. Say I'm aiming center of the 3x5 card and I'm shooting down here. It means I'm dipping my gun before it goes bang. So I'm pulling the trigger down here and not where I want to be. If you're shooting high, that just means that you're pulling the gun up. So, or you're not, you don't know your sight hold over or hold under. That's a whole separate video in itself. If you're shooting, if you're right-handed, you're shooting low left, it means you're flinching the gun. You're having anticipation and you're pressing the gun in when you're shooting or pulling the trigger. So what you do to fix that is on your non-dominant hand, press in harder. If you see yourself shooting left, just press into the frame harder in the opposite direction. And if you're left-handed, press in the opposite direction. It's that simple. I'm not going to tell you how to build a good grip. I can show you. I just have a good high grip and I fill in the frame and my thumb goes all the way out here on my non-dominant hand. That's what my grip looks like. That's what works for me. Figure out what works for you, because everybody's got hands built different and guns are built different, and I don't know. It just, don't let somebody tell you that, hey, that's not right. Just learn, hey, there is some things that works better than others. Try it out, see what you like, and then practice it. Once you figure out something you like that works, that's when you practice that during dry fire. So I hope this helped. I'll do that cold start drill again here in just a second, but dry fire is the biggest way to get better at shooting. Having a shot timer is another great way you can track your progress. And basically, the only thing you work on with live fire is recoil control and just learning how the gun works during cycling of rounds, basically. So it's not that complicated. That was 50 rounds just right there. And I felt, I got better from that 50 rounds. And I shoot like all the time. So you just got to focus on what you're doing. If you want to come out and shoot for fun, that's fine. But if you want to actually get better as a shooter, then focus on what you're doing and shoot drills just like what I showed you. That focuses on certain aspects of shooting. But dry fire covers basically everything except knowing if your grip is good and knowing the timing of your gun and trigger reset. That's only 3 things that live fire helps. So, all right, so I've marked up my hits. I have finished all 50 rounds that I've come to the range with. I'm going to show you again the cold start drill that I did, the one in the dot, 3 in the box, from 3 yards in 2.5 seconds, or that's the goal. And I'm going to incorporate everything that I just did. Recoil control, trigger press follow through, or trigger reset, getting back on the trigger, and just knowing where my sight is when I pull the trigger. All right. So I got time, but my hits were not as great. Here is, oh fuck. Okay. My hits were a little bit better. I dropped 1 low in the box, or in the dot, and I had 1 over here. It just means my grip was not as good as it should have been. So I got 1, 2 is stacked on top of that one, 3 in the bottom. But that was in a 2, 4, 7. So I got more hits on target, or in the box. That is my one that I dropped low. That's improper dot placement. I need to know my height over bore for my red dot. And I got a faster time. So I did improve. Doesn't seem like much, but whenever you get decent at shooting, your improvement will get slower, or like it'll be less noticeable, but stacking that up adds up over time. So I hope that helps. I just wanted to make this video to help anybody that's not the best shooter or is new to shooting. So I hope that helps. And go to the comment section if you have any questions, and I can try to answer those if possible.